Today, we're diving into a real masterpiece of Irish theater. It's this short, incredibly powerful play that's all about a small island community just pitted against the immense, unforgiving power of the sea. But, their struggle isn't just with the waves. It's a battle for what to believe in when you're faced with constant, overwhelming loss. And this one line from Moria, the family's matriarch, it just captures the entire soul of the story. This isn't a statement of hope. Not at all. It's one of profound, weary acceptance. And that really sets the tone for everything that follows. A world where just getting by depends on accepting a fate you absolutely cannot change. So, where does this all take place? Well, imagine an isolated island where life and death are completely dictated by the sea. For this community, the ocean is everything. It's how they make a living, and it's their greatest fear. And it's the perfect backdrop for a really deep spiritual conflict. This right here is the core tension of the play. The characters are completely caught in this spiritual tug-of-war. On one side, you have the formal Catholicism they practice, and on the other, there's this older, more primal faith that's tied directly to the natural world all around them. Okay, so let's first look at the side they turn to for some kind of comfort, their Catholic faith. This is the organized structure, the set of rules they try to impose on a world that feels completely chaotic. And you see this constantly in the way they talk. They're always invoking God's name, asking for blessings, going through the rituals they've been taught. It's really their first line of defense against tragedy. It's their way of trying to find some solace and protection for the men who have to go out on the water. Their faith gives them a system. It offers the promise of an afterlife and this idea of a divine plan, even when they're suffering. It's a way to try and make sense of the senseless. But, as we're about to see, that framework is constantly getting battered by the waves. And this line from Moria, you can just feel her trying to find peace through that religious lens. I mean, after a lifetime of just unimaginable loss, the only comfort she can even imagine is that final rest promised by her faith. It's a peace she's desperately searching for, but it's not the only force at play here. Because this is where things get a lot more complex. There's another, much older power at work here. It's this deep-seated belief in omens, in visions, and in the supernatural power of the sea itself, almost like a holdover from ancient pagan times. This slide just lays out their divided trust perfectly. On the one hand, they place their faith in an unseen God through prayer and scripture. But on the other hand, they place an equal, if not greater amount of trust in what they can physically see and feel: a drowned man's clothes, a vision of a ghost, the direction of the wind. And look, this isn't just some quaint superstition. It comes from a really profound doubt. When their prayers seem to go unanswered and the sea just keeps taking their sons, their faith in a loving God starts to waver. They begin to see the ocean not just as water, but as a conscious, powerful entity that you just can't reason with or pray to. So what's so fascinating is that these two belief systems don't just cancel each other out. Instead, they actually merge into this unique and tragic worldview where the characters are trying to hold onto both at the exact same time. And this brings us to the key concept that pretty much governs their entire lives: fatalism. It's this core idea that no matter what you do, no matter how hard you pray or how carefully you watch for signs, the outcome is already decided. And in their world, fate is wielded by the sea. And this chart just brilliantly illustrates their psychological process. When tragedy strikes, their first instinct is, of course, to turn to the church and say a prayer. But almost immediately, they'll recall a vision, an omen, some sign that predicted this outcome. And that doesn't lead them to fight back. It leads them to a deep, sorrowful acceptance that this was always, always meant to be. So what you end up with is the powerful, somber atmosphere of the play. It's not a story of faith versus doubt. It's a story of how faith and doubt can actually coexist, creating this fragile balance where people pray for the best while basically accepting the inevitability of the worst. So what's the ultimate takeaway from all this? What happens when a person has lost absolutely everything to this relentless cycle? At the end of the day, the play argues that in this world, the sea has the final say. It's the one force that is undeniable, unchangeable, and all-powerful. It is the ultimate judge, and its verdict is always final. Their prayers and their superstitions, they're just ways of coping with that immense power. And that leaves us with a really profound and universal question, doesn't it? When we're faced with forces so much bigger than ourselves, whether it's nature or illness or history, what is the true role of faith? Is it to change our fate, or is it simply to help us endure it? And we end with Moria's final words:
After her very last son drowns, she reaches a state that's somehow beyond grief. It's this strange, empty peace that's born from total loss. The sea has taken everything it possibly can, and in doing so, it has finally lost its power over her. It is such a haunting conclusion, suggesting that maybe the only true freedom from fate comes when there's absolutely nothing left to lose.